things that we take for granted, leaves falling, snowflakes falling, a reflection of sunlight on a pond. Everything was new to her from a visual perspective, and it was just miraculous seeing this unfold. Changes in genes, mutations in genes, can cause disease. The idea is to be able to harness what we know about the genes and the defects in the genes which cause blindness to try to intervene. I've always loved animals. One of our collaborators in the veterinary school had the wisdom long ago to start to study puppies and dogs who were blind. One person came into the clinic with a large dog, a Briard, which is about waist high. It sired some puppies, which were then crossed to generate a line of dogs which had 2 bad copies of this one gene. So those dogs were blind because they did not have a normal copy of the gene. And lo and behold, the Swedish Briards had the same exact mutation, same gene mutation as found in the humans. So we proceeded to study these dogs, and knowing that they were likely a great candidate for gene therapy. 99.9% of the time, we saw this remarkable reversal of the blindness. So we were very excited to test this in humans. I knew that we had amazing data and we could potentially progress to a human clinical trial if we had the appropriate funding, but I couldn't find anybody who was willing to fund it. Then one day, I can remember the exact day, Dr. Katherine High knocked on my office door, walked in and sat down and said, "Jean, how would you like to run a clinical trial?" And I was just flabbergasted. I'm sure my jaw hit the ground. But of course, it took me a billionth of a second to say yes.
I had known Dr. High for many, many years. I thought she did great work. I spent 30 years at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia as a physician and then as the CEO.
So Dr. High had spoken to Dr. Altschuler, and he told her that he was going to fund a center and also to run 2 different clinical trials, one of which would be for hemophilia, and the other would be my disease, Leber's congenital amaurosis.
When I look back on it, it is always to me one of the most extraordinary decisions that after thinking about it for a week or so, he actually agreed to do that. And the reason I say that is because at that time, things looked really bleak for gene therapy. Everyone else was walking away. I was convinced that we were not seeing any problems that could not eventually be solved. And fortunately, I was able to convince him of that as well.
That led to Dr. High and Dr. Bennett coming together. It led to CHOP developing the viral vector. As they say, it was kind of a marriage made in heaven. And that became the basis of the first gene therapy trial.
I downloaded the numbers, brought them home, spread out my computer and my tables on our dining room table, and plotted it out. And it was phenomenal. It was so dramatic. I screamed for my husband, who was trying to take a nap, and we were just so energized. I ended up analyzing all the data that night. The real bonus was knowing and hearing from these individuals that they could see better, that they could move around more independently, go to school, see their children's faces.
My name is Christian Guardino. I was born in Long Island, New York, and I was born with a very rare retinal disease called Leber's congenital amaurosis. And what that is a very rare disease that causes you to go blind over time.
There are about 20 different forms of LCA now, that we know of now, based on different genes which cause these conditions. It's like the world is dark.
Growing up with LCA was hard, mostly because I wanted to do everything else that all the other kids were doing, but I couldn't. I always use music as something to cope with that.
And we can measure an effect as soon as a week after injection. And patients report to us that even a few days after injection, they see better.
Fast forward a few weeks, we go home and I see the moon for the first time at a performance, which was absolutely amazing. They're calling my name on stage. Christian. I'm not paying attention. I'm looking straight up at the sky. And the MC of the show comes down and was like, Christian, it's your turn to perform. You gotta go up. And I was like, is that the moon? It was probably one of the biggest nights in my life. I don't think I'll ever forget that night.
Patients are really the reason that we do this work. They are the North Star of a lot of what we do. Their life is limited in a way, but they have talents that they can use to help solve problems in the world. But they need a chance. I knew that where the field was at that point, we were really close, and if we did everything right, we would actually be able to cross the finish line with a licensed product for a genetic disease. But the further our work went at the university, the more it became clear to me that to pull together all of the resources we were going to need, we would need access to the public markets. We were going to need a company.
Kathy understood the whole process of developing gene therapy as a drug.
I would think about, what if I don't go and the product doesn't make it across the finish line? How will I feel? I spent decades of my life working at this space, in this space, but then at the final step, I didn't have the courage. I couldn't live with that, so I decided whatever it takes, I'm gonna go.
I think in terms of true innovation, in terms of impact, and then providing a platform for future development of new drugs, there's nothing even close to this. This is foundational. In some ways, Spark now has this incredible legacy as, the father, mother of gene therapy.
We were experts at these areas which needed to intersect. And as Kathy said, we moved forward, joined at the hip.
What you have to do, if you're leading an effort like that, is you have to identify the best people, and then you have to induce them, entice them, motivate them to work on this problem so that you can all pull together to get to the goal.
We understand that not one person alone can do everything, that it requires a huge team effort.
Jean and I are symbols of a very large and terrific team.
They were really able to work together to do something special. And I think that's a major reason that it worked out. And they were both great scientists, and they had this mutual respect.
We would not take no for an answer. We always found a way to navigate around these hurdles. That doesn't mean we ignored the hurdles. We addressed them head on.
The most important thing is to do a good job on today's problems. Because if you do that, there will be a tomorrow.
Before gene therapy, when I found out that I was gonna go completely blind by the time I hit age 15 to 30, I was terrified of losing everything that I had seen. I didn't want to forget what my mother looked like, what my family looked like. And they really saved me. And I'm so grateful for that. They changed my life.
This was the first gene therapy for a genetic disease approved at the FDA. And we faced many hurdles along the way. But then it's great to have a partner, because on the days when you feel, you know what, I just don't think I can keep going on this, the other person says, no, we're closer than you think. You can't really force a collaboration. The two people have to be fairly well aligned about a lot of things that are important to both of them.
We had such trust in each other's scientific prowess and our standards. It was just an obvious collaboration.